there's been a groundswell of support started by the Green Bay Packers, who can't stop it, so they want to get rid of the play. And there's been an effort to get rid of the tush push. So the latest on this, there was supposed to be a vote. I say supposed to be. On Tuesday, there was no vote. Turns out the NFL, even though they had all this planned out and there were things being bounced around the world about, oh, this is going to happen, this is going to – everyone had a theory on it. So they had it all planned out. The NFL was going to vote for the end of the Eagles signature play, the short yardage play where it is almost unstoppable. However, instead of having the vote, they decided to table the vote, a fancy way of saying we didn't have enough votes, so we're not going to actually vote. We'll push it back. Push it back now. Much like defenses can't stop and push back the tush push, they have been able to successfully push back the vote on the tush push. That'll be back in May. Now, the play was tremendously successful for the Philadelphia Eagles. It's been insane. 27 touchdowns and 92 first downs gained in the past 3 years on that one play. 27 touchdowns, 92 total first downs over 3 years. You can do the math on that. That's over 30 first downs per year and a bunch of touchdowns per year as well. They scored 11 touchdowns on it with 32 first downs during the Super Bowl run, which was capped off there in Louisiana back in February. So we are told that the plan to outlaw the play, they had a straw vote, which is not a real vote. It was like a fake vote. And there were 16 votes, 16 NFL teams that said, okay, let's get rid of it. Now, as you know, there are 32 teams. The bylaws of the NFL. Oh, yes, the good old boys network there at the NFL. They say you need a minimum of 24 votes. So you can see there's a problem with the electorate there. Now, the topic is going to be revisited in May in a hotel near an airport in Minnesota. That's where they're going to get together, the owners, next. Now, Roger Goodell. Let's get to the meat of the matter here. So Roger Goodell, the commissioner, the National Football League, he got up to the dais and he ranted, and he claimed that he's concerned. He's got some issues with the tushy pushy. Listen to the commissioner, Roger Goodell. Let's go to the audio tape.
I think there are safety issues that are being considered in that case. We have very little data from it, but it's beyond data. There's also, there's the mechanism of injury that we study, that type of thing that leads us to show the risk involved with a particular play or particular tackle. So those are things that we did discuss. I do think there's a lot of discussion about going back to the previous rule, back to pre-2004.
All right, so Goodell, the key part of that was the mechanism of injury. He used that phrase, which is bullshoy. A lot of hot bullshoy is what that is. All right, so let us discuss the question for the esteemed panel, which you are part of. How do you decode what you just heard, Roger Goodell and his messaging on the tush push? How do you decode the messaging on the tush push? So I've got Ulysses S. Grant, cherry picking, and Popeyes, but not the chicken. And we will combine all of these things together, and we are going to make Pop Goes the Weasel. That's what we're going to make. Pop Goes the Weasel. So, the NFL, as we mentioned, they did this little vote, but not a vote. Like it's kind of like when you run for political office and you do a survey of a sample of the electorate, and you're like, all right, are we going to win the election? Do we have enough votes? It's that kind of thing, right? It's that deal. And they were split down the middle, 50-50. 50-50 down the middle, split down party lines. And you say, well, it's not team red, team blue. What are you talking about? Party lines? You're full of crap. You're just a jerk. Let me explain. All right, so you have teams that have machismo, that have balls, that want the play to remain in the NFL, and they want to actually try to stop the play. They want to figure out how to stop the play. And then you have the other side of the aisle. We'll call them the cowards, the you-know-what. And they want it outlawed. They want it verboten because they can't stop it. So if you can't stop it, you got to get rid of it, and that's the way it goes, right? And so you break all of this down, right? You break all of this down, and Roger Goodell, even though he didn't step up and actually say, I hate the play, I don't want the play, if you listen between the words of Roger Goodell, he is firmly supporting the extermination of the tush push. He's anti-tush. Doesn't like it. Right? You can tell by the tone. You can tell by the words. And so when I hear what he said, and then the NFL knew they didn't have enough votes, so they decided to table the thing until May, what does that tell us? Well, that tells me that Roger Goodell is going to go Ulysses S. Grant when he was the president back in the day, and he's going to go to the Willard Hotel, which, according to U.S. history, is probably bullcrap, but I heard the story years ago. So at the Willard Hotel in D.C., the president would go there, and he might even been staying there, and he'd go into the lobby, and he'd smoke cigars and have cocktails. And so people that were trying to get favor out of the president would show up and have cigars and have drinks with President Ulysses S. Grant. And so they would all hang out, and it was the term lobbyist was born. So Roger Goodell is going to work as a lobbyist to try to get 8 teams to switch the vote to get rid of the tushy-pushy. So no more tushy. Now, page 2 here. So does the data back up Roger Goodell? Roger Goodell claimed that they don't have enough of it, but they use some highfalutin words and all this to describe why he didn't really think it's a great idea, the tush push, that it's a dangerous play. So it's a dangerous play, and they're talking about injury risk and all that. So does the data back that up? And the answer is no. I'm shaking my head no. The NFL, the league itself, the NFL itself, now, you remember this? Sean McDermott came out, and the Bills coach is like, I don't think it's a good play. I think that's a dangerous play. The NFL, the league media operation, released data, this goes back a couple months, that claimed its own internal information, the numbers they keep track of, showed that the tush push during the 2024 season resulted in 0 injuries. Bupkis. That's the league itself. Roger Goodell, his operation said no one got hurt on the tush push. Now, even if you think that's bullcrap and that's wrong, that somebody got hurt, I know somebody got hurt. Somebody had to get hurt. Even if you believe that, it wasn't very many. And on every single play, if people are trying, there's going to be some risk of injury. And so what do you think here? What do you think Goodell's going to do in order to get those 8 extra votes? Like, what's the move here if you're Roger Goodell? You got to come back at the next meeting with the owners, and you have to bring some information and try to sway at least 8 of the 16 that are on the other side. And so what is going to happen here, it's kind of obvious. We see this a lot in political theater and in many walks of life. We saw this during the pandemic, right? You just cook up some numbers and say that's the way it is, and a lot of people just believe you. So I would imagine that Roger Goodell will have some high spin rate, that's a baseball term, high spin rate, and he will manipulate the data, or someone under him will manipulate the data to fit his argument. Now, it still might not work. That's not guaranteed it's going to work, but the effort will be made. And it's called cherry picking. And you just do a little data dredging. That's another way to describe it. And you selectively choose and manipulate the information to support your argument. And then, of course, you ignore, or in the legal sense, you omit anything that would contradict with your argument. All right, now the last word. So the NFL, not only do you have this tush-push thing that got pushed back, ironically, but you also have Troy Vincent, a former NFL player who's now the executive muckety-muck of football operations. I think that's his unofficial title, the executive mucky-muck of the NFL football operation. So Troy Vincent announced at the West Palm soiree at the Breakers Resort there, Troy Vincent announced that the league will be cracking down on what they say has been an increased amount of violent and sexual celebrations. That's right. That ixnay on the sex A and no on the violence, no fake guns, no fake hand grenades. You can't be pretending like you're making love to an imaginary person while you're scoring a touchdown. You are no longer allowed to do that. Now, I just mentioned cherry-picking statistics, and the NFL is very good at that. Troy Vincent claimed that the NFL saw a 133% increase on violent gestures in a celebratory matter. But wait, there's more, a 52% uptick in sexual taunting. That's right, sexual taunting, which sounds like a kink that some of you might have, right? It sounds like something you might have. You don't want to talk about it. I got it. All right, so why is the NFL looking to, again, put the kibosh on these type of celebrations? Remember, for years it was the no fun league, and then they're like, we got to have fun. And now they've had fun, and now they don't like having fun. So there's a phrase that applies here. If you give them an inch, they'll take a mile. So the owners are like, we don't really want these players to celebrate the way they are. So we allowed them to do it, and they took advantage of us. And so now we have to put our foot down, right? We have to put our foot down. And the NFL owners, they went a little soft, right? A little Mr. Softy, a little soft situation there. And now they're like, well, we got to go back more to a hard line. Like, if you want to play patty cake, that's okay. You can play patty cake. And if you want to, do a fake potato sack race, we're probably pretty cool with that. But if you're, I don't even know if I can say and can't say, there's certain things that players have been doing the last couple of years. There's video clips of, like highlight clips on social media of some of the more outrageous celebrations. But it's essentially like the players have watched a lot of Pornhub, and they want to recreate some of those classic scenes on Pornhub in the end zone at Ford Field, right? And they just want to go for it and all that stuff. So, of course, the Puritan aristocrats, they're going Popeyes, but not Popeyes the chicken place. They're going Popeyes the sailor man. Whoop, whoop. Yeah, they're like, hey, that's all I can stand, and I can't stand no more. And so we'll see what this means. But the stuffy rich guys who own these NFL teams, and they can't have the naughty activity. Can't have it.